This is great. I wrote myself a note 30 days ago. It said, well done is better than well said. This is well done, right? We could have sat around and talked about this. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. I'm John Delina. I'm a DEA special agent. I'm from the New England Field Division. I came down about 7 months ago to help the administrator with congressional and public affairs, but I'm very passionate about outreach. So this is something that's near and dear to me. And I'm honored to be the first one to really stand up here and welcome you to DEA's inaugural Family Summit on the Overdose Epidemic. I think today we've created an informative, an inspiring, and a packed day of events. First, a couple housekeeping items that my staff made sure that I reminded everyone of. Could you please silence your cell phones? It's going to be an emotional day. We want to make sure that nobody's cell phone interrupts us. Secondly, there are restrooms just outside the ballroom, down past the elevators to the right. And third, and very importantly, we have a family support room set up in Plaza A, directly across the hall, if anyone needs to take a moment to collect your thoughts. Let me ask right now Denise Mariano and Liz Cairns to both please stand. They're right here. Denise and Liz are from the Partnership to End Addiction. They're parents and are trained peer counselors. Should you need to speak to someone at any point during the day, Denise and Liz are here for you, and we'll take you to one of those rooms and give you a moment to collect yourself if needed. I would like to start by telling you what today means to me personally. During my time in New England, I've partnered with families, groups, and prevention specialists on community outreach events and presentations, big and small. I like to do things big, as evidenced by today, but it's just as important to have that one-on-one conversation. I appreciate the work you do and feel strongly that by sharing your stories, like you did yesterday, many of you, you are saving lives. Seeing so many people in this room today makes me hopeful for the future. I know that you are all in different stages of your grief. For some of you, the pain is still very raw, and this might be your first step forward. Others have had time to heal, but you have all chosen a path to try to protect other families from losing a loved one. That is heroic. It really is. Some of you had the opportunity yesterday to see DEA's Faces of Fentanyl exhibit during your visit to DEA headquarters. It's a memorial that the administrator asked that we establish to remember those lost to drug poisonings and overdose deaths. It also serves as a reminder for DEA employees walking past it every day that we cannot waver in our mission. We cannot continue to let innocent people die at the hands of greed. Sometimes even the most seasoned DEA employee needs something to supply the why. You are all here to supply the why. That is a reminder for us every day to just work a little bit harder, to just push a little bit more and take it a little bit further so we can have the most impact on this country that we can possibly have. The overdose epidemic calls for us to do things differently. We have an opportunity to think differently, and we are, along with DEA Administrator Milgram and the entire team at Congressional and Public Affairs. All of you who are here at this inaugural Family Summit are here to start to do something different. Inaugural is a word that's synonymous with our nation's capital. It marks a new beginning. This is the first time that DEA has brought together such a large group of families and organizations to collaborate on something so vital to the safety and well-being of our country. We are honored to have the Deputy Attorney General of the United States, Lisa Monaco, in attendance. DEA Administrator Ann Milgram and DEA Deputy Administrator Lou Milioni are here as well. Thank you all for joining us. They are extremely invested in the work that will happen among this group today and in the months that follow. We look forward to sharing our next steps together, not just amongst this group, but with them when we conclude. You will hear from DEA's Chief of Operations, Ray Donovan, and Special Agent in Charge, Bill Bodner, as well as Chris Jones from the CDC, from CDC, and from SAMHSA, Michelle Kim Leff. We have Fred Munch from the Partnership to End Addiction, and so many other great people. After lunch, we're going to break into smaller groups to discuss ways to create greater awareness and change within all of our communities. We know today may be emotional. We have peer counselors on hand. A member of the DEA staff, like I said, can direct you to that room if need be. Thank you again for being here. It is truly our honor to host this family summit on the overdose epidemic. Now I have the great pleasure of introducing the Deputy Attorney General of the United States, Lisa Monaco.
Good morning. And thank you, John. As a daughter of Boston, let me just say, I don't know if you grew up in New England, if you've just been spending time there with the DEA, but I'm noticing a little accent there, which makes me feel quite at home. So thank you. Thank you all for having me. Thank you for letting me join you. As I look around this room, I am just filled with inspiration, both about the work that will come today and the work that you did yesterday, and frankly, selfishly, the benefits that our work will reap from your generosity. I want to thank Administrator Milgram and her whole team for having me here today and for convening this inaugural summit. It's really a testament to the commitment, frankly, the devotion that I see every day in the professionals at the DEA to bring to this mission of reversing the overdose and poisoning epidemic that has gripped this country. Now, the department's most fundamental mission is, of course, to protect the American people. That is, at its core, what I get up every morning to do, what I know the more than 115,000 women and men of the Department of Justice wake up every morning fundamentally to do, to protect the American people from all threats, including the most insidious ones, including the epidemic of overdoses and poisonings that we face. Ours is fundamentally, I think at its base, a law enforcement mission. That won't come as a surprise to anybody here. But I think sometimes what gets missed, but what is surely captured in your presence here today, is the compassion with which the Drug Enforcement Administration is pursuing this mission every day. That compassion, I think, is reflected in the fact that the DEA is putting you and your loved ones at the center of the work that we're doing. Hearing from you, learning from you is what this summit is all about, to inform and make better and more impactful the work that we do. So I want to thank Administrator Milgram and her whole leadership team for convening this and for the work that they do. But I want to thank them most of all for their compassion in the way they do it. Now, as grateful as I am to the DEA for putting on this summit and the work they do every day, the real thanks goes to you. All of you who have shown incredible courage, quite frankly, in being here. The families, the survivors, those of you who have lost children to this killer. That's what it is, this killer that is this epidemic. Today is, of course, a day for remembrance, and as John quite rightly pointed out, it will be emotional. But it's also a day for learning, for action. By coming together, you are showing incredible leadership. You're showing incredible strength and, frankly, resilience, and that's what I'm seeing in this room today. It takes real courage to turn what is profound pain into what is real purpose, and that's what your presence here, I think, means. Your presence is quite moving, frankly, to me and to many of us, because you've taken tragedy, the most unimaginable, I think, pain that any of us can feel, and decided to turn it into positive action. To prevent further tragedy, to prevent further pain, to prevent other families from going through that which you have experienced and continue to experience. Your work here today will make other communities, other families safer, and I think stronger for the work that you're going to do today. Your work is, of course, profoundly important. I don't have to tell this group of the devastation that this epidemic has wrought, more than 100,000 deaths in last year alone. But each of you, I mean, we focus, I think, rightly on that staggering, quite frankly, staggering number. But I think we're not here, and I'm quite certain you're not here because of the more than 100,000 number. You're here because of the one, the individual that was taken from you far too soon. That's the most important number. That's the number I think that we'll focus on today. Your presence here, the experiences, the knowledge that you will share at this summit will, in a very real way, I think, impact that number, because it will help save lives. I wanted to come this morning to join you for a little bit, to tell you that on behalf of the entire Department of Justice, the more than, as I said, 115,000 women and men who serve every day, we stand with you in the work that you're doing. The department, of course, has many, many roles to play in reversing the epidemic of poisonings and overdoses. It's, of course, as we said, a law enforcement mission. It's the DEA's work every day to expand medically assisted treatment. It's the work we do across the department and U.S. attorneys' offices around the country on prevention and education. All of this is geared toward changing, altering the trajectory of the epidemic. Now, of course, DEA is leading that work in partnership with you and with so many others to identify, disrupt, dismantle the criminal organizations that are trafficking and peddling the poison that's killing at record numbers. It's doing that work every day to go after the networks and others who fuel this epidemic from outside of the United States. Now, I know we will not arrest and prosecute our way out of this epidemic. Prevention and education are critical to our efforts, as is the recognition that addiction should not be a stigma. It is a public health issue and one that affects entire families. That's why your voices and the work you'll do today is so, so critical. Your voices about the public safety, frankly, the public safety crisis that our children are facing from counterfeit pills, from synthetic opioids, from the minuscule but lethal doses of fentanyl that have caused so much devastation. You are force multipliers, you are advocates, powerful, powerful advocates for change. That's why I'm inspired by your presence here today, by, frankly, the grace that is shown in putting what I have to imagine is anger, pain, grief, putting that not to the side, but slightly to the side for the time that you spend today to share your experience, to allow us to benefit from your experience, from your knowledge. I think that your willingness to come together, to drive change, to help all of us do more, to do better, to help take your learning, the innovation that is shown in so many of the programs represented here today, your experiences to other communities, to let others benefit from what you've learned. Your work here will profoundly save lives. And I guess my final comment would be that I think it's an incredible legacy to bring your pain into this room and to turn it into action that will help spare other families, to help spare other families the pain that you know and are experiencing, to help prevent someone else from leaving us too soon. So I want to thank you for allowing me to be here today, to spend some time to help launch this first summit. And I want to thank you for the courage and the commitment that brings you here today. Thank you very much. It's Revere Mass.
It's Revere Mass, yes. It's now my honor and privilege to introduce the administrator of DEA, Administrator Ann Milgram. This was her vision. I remember the phone call 30 days ago when she told me to, in all honesty, I've heard her say this a lot. We need to do more to meet the moment. Meet the moment. And I told her the first time I heard her say that, like, I'm ready to run through a wall when I hear that. And that's what this is all about. So it's my honor to bring you up, ma'am.
Thank you, John. Thank you to the Deputy Attorney General. I would note that the Deputy Attorney General oversees, she's the #2 person in the United States Department of Justice. I think she's the busiest person I know. And yet there's not a single day that we don't feel her commitment and the Attorney General's commitment to our mission, to our work, and to our people. And so we're really grateful. I had the fortune to run into some of you in the hallway yesterday. I was down looking at the Faces of Fentanyl exhibition, and I had the opportunity to start a conversation with a number of you. And I left last night and I was thinking about today, and I was thinking about it again this morning, and something kept coming back to my mind, and it is a line from a book that I read many years ago. There's an author who's now part of the U.S. government, a man named Atul Gawande. He's a doctor, and many years ago, he's become known now for something called the checklist in hospitals. So what Dr. Gawande realized is he'd gone into hospitals and found that people were dying at record rates from basic infections. And he'd come up with this idea of how he could see this problem differently and how he could start to solve it. He went on later to write a book called Being Mortal, which is about struggles and problems with end of life in the American healthcare system. He talks about all the problems, and it feels intractable. It feels like something that can't be solved. And then at the end, he doesn't end with specific solutions. He doesn't end with specific calls to action. He says this: there are people in the world who change imaginations. There are people in the world who change imaginations, who can make people see the world in a different light, who can make people who don't understand the depth of a harm or a problem see it differently. And that's what I see when I look at all of you. The work you do every single day in community rooms, in gyms, at schools, at parent meetings, the work I see you doing is changing imaginations. It is changing the way people understand the threat and the harm and what is possible today that we can do in the United States of America to reverse this devastating trend. And so it is a deep honor and privilege that we have you here with us today to form this partnership, to stand together with you, and to start what I hope is an ongoing and long relationship together in thinking about how we raise public awareness and how we get change in an area that all of us know we desperately need. I want to also tell you on behalf of all of DEA how profoundly sorry I am to each and every single one of you for your loss. It's an unspeakable loss that all of you have felt, and I think the Deputy Attorney General said it so beautifully when she said that there is so much heroism and strength in the ability to take grief and pain and love and turn that into action and a fight, a battle to increase public awareness. So in 2 weeks, I will have been in my job, had the privilege to serve as the administrator of this incredible organization, the Drug Enforcement Administration. I will have been here for a year. And I get to speak in rooms across the country. I get to speak with family members. I get to speak with officials in the United States government. And I can tell you two things that I'm struck by as I sort of step back and think about those conversations. The first is that for all the work we're doing, and there is incredible work that is happening that you are all doing every day, there are still many, many people in our country who do not understand the depth of this threat, who do not understand how deadly fentanyl is, who do not understand that this is something, this moment that we're in is a moment we have never been in before. It is completely new and it is completely different, and it requires new and different solutions and actions. The second thing I'm struck by constantly when I'm in these rooms is that most people see or understand this problem as a collection of overdose deaths and poisonings that are separate from one another. They see it as separate, that the work that's happening or the lives being lost are something may be happening in Omaha, Nebraska, something may be happening in San Diego, California, but that they're not intertwined. And what I know from my nearly a year at DEA is that every piece of this is deeply intertwined. And I think it's important to talk about what I see as the deliberate, calculated treachery that is driving what we are experiencing today. We have our Chief of Ops, Ray Donovan, here today. Ray's going to do this in a lot more detail than I will, because we want you to know what we see. But it's important that I tell you that I do think that there is deliberate, calculated treachery at every step of the way. Beginning in China, which predominantly is responsible today for the chemicals that are being used to make fentanyl and methamphetamine. The Chinese chemical companies that are falsifying the information about what is being shipped out of that country and where that is going, that's falsifying information about what is in those packages that are then going to Mexico, where endemic corruption is allowing those chemicals to come in through ports, through airports, all over, through Latin America, and then be brought into Mexico, where the two major criminal cartels are synthesizing mass quantities of fentanyl. If you feel like there's more on the streets of America than there has ever been, and again, this started in 2015, really, fentanyl at scale started in 2015, but if you feel like there's more than has ever been, that's because every single year since 2015, it has gone up. Because again, it's a synthetic drug that is man-made and is limited only by the amount of chemicals that the criminal cartels can get. So you have Mexico, where you have the criminal cartels making fentanyl and increasingly making fake pills that are meant, again, think about the deliberative, calculated treachery. Those pills are meant to look like Oxy or hydrocodone or Adderall or something that people would believe is a legitimate pharmaceutical medication and that is safe to take. And it's not. As all of you know personally, nothing could be farther from the truth. And then we come into the United States, where drug dealers are putting fentanyl in everything. I think one of the challenges we face is that fentanyl is a shapeshifter. It can be with cocaine. It can be put by a drug trafficker with methamphetamine. It can be put with heroin. And again, it can be put into these fake pills. And those traffickers are doing it, and this entire chain is operationalized for profit and to drive addiction. The more people who are addicted in the United States of America, or the more people who are convinced through social media or through any other means to buy a pill that they believe is something other than what it actually is, the more money they make, the more addiction will drive that profit for them. And there is an indifference to human life that I, in my many years as a criminal prosecutor and as a state AG, have just not seen. All of us growing up with these jobs were trained that drug dealers would never want to hurt someone else, right? They want that profit to still come to them. And that's not the world we live in. And I don't think people fully understand that we've come into a new world where, whereas a dealer may have had 100 or 200 people in an open-air drug market, today they have 100 or 200 million people available at the click of a button on a social media app. It's just an entirely different world that we live in than we ever lived in before. So it's really important to me that we do a few things today. And first, I would say to all of you, what an honor it is to be here with you, because your mission, we know, is to save lives, and that's DEA's mission. Every day, the men and women you'll hear from and that you'll see are out there. Right now, in China, there are men and women from DEA who are working on those precursor chemical companies. In Mexico, there are men and women across Mexico that are tracking those chemicals, they're tracking the clandestine labs, they're identifying the members of those networks. And every day across the United States, they're doing work like Bill Bodner, our special agent in charge of LA, will tell you about, where they're investigating overdose deaths and fentanyl poisonings to bring justice for the lives that we've lost. And we want to bring justice for those that we've lost, for your loved ones, and we also want to stop the next person from being harmed. And that's why we want this partnership with you, and we want to be here together. So I'll be honest in saying I have 3 goals today. The first is to listen and learn from all of you. I know, even from the one-on-one conversations I've been able to have, how much we can learn from what you have been through, from your experience and your advocacy and your leadership. The second thing we really want to do is make sure you see what we see. And that's why Ray and Bill will talk about what we're doing at DEA and what we see. That's also why we have CDC and SAMHSA who will come together to talk a little bit about their work. And finally, and this is maybe the most important part of today, is that I think there's real magic when we come together. When people from different parts of the country, from different backgrounds, with different experiences, all of whom have experienced an unspeakable loss and are turning it into public awareness and action, there's magic in just you all being together. And for us to be able to work with you to figure out, how do we elevate this work? How do we all take this to the next level? How do we be, every single day going forward, the people who change imaginations, and in doing so, change the course of history? Because that chapter is not yet written. We know that we've lost 108,000 lives from December of 2020 to December of 2021. But every single day, every single moment is an opportunity for us to save lives and to reverse that trend. I think of it a little bit as what we do at DEA. We go out into communities, we talk to folks, and we have a flashlight that we shine on problems. To use a sort of, and what I think about all of you and your organizations, you sort of have spotlights that you're using to shine on the problem. What I would love for us to figure out together is, how do we build electricity and turn the lights on for the entire United States of America? So there's not a single person who does not lack an understanding of the depth of this harm, the devastation of this harm, and have a deep awareness and commitment to change. The same that I see from all of you. And now I'll close by saying something that both John and the Deputy AG mentioned, or sort of talked about, which is that as I stand here and you listen to me, you may hear sadness and anger and frustration in my voice. And I admit I feel all of those things. And some days, as my team will tell you, we feel them all in the same moment, right? All of us. But what drives me is not that. What drives me is the belief, the knowledge that we can solve this problem. That all of us working together can make a difference, and that we can save lives. And that's why it's such a privilege and an honor to be here with all of you today. Thank you.